3:47 a.m., a Ukrainian strike drone came within inches of changing Russian history. In the darkness, it missed its target by a few steps, but the night was already lost for Russia, because across the border, dozens of Ukrainian drones were hitting their marks, and entire regions of Russia were slipping into flame and panic. This moment, those final 3 seconds, was the end of a 6-hour hunt that had begun quietly at 9 p.m. the previous night. That's when 10 Ukrainian Bober motherships lifted into the sky, each carrying its own team of killers. Silent, coordinated, unseen. A moving armada built for one purpose: to find targets buried deep inside Russia and strike them all at once. And when the Bober motherships slipped into the night, their mission wasn't just dangerous, it was suicidal. These weren't ordinary drones. They were a wolf pack, programmed to hunt as one, moving with the precision of a single, silent predator. For the first critical strike, 4 of these motherships were assigned to the oil refinery. Their task? A knife-edge flight nearly 600 miles across the Volga, skimming just 50 feet above the water. At that altitude, one tiny mistake meant a cold, dark splash and total mission failure. For 6 brutal hours, they were ghosts, undetected, unheard, slipping beneath every radar sweep. Then, at 3:30 a.m., everything changed. A Russian Pantsir S-1 operator practically jumped out of his seat when his once black screen flickered to life. 4 faint, ghost-like contacts appeared from nowhere. "4 targets, low altitude!" he shouted into his headset. The beast had awakened. 2 Pantsir systems, the last guardians of this billion-dollar prize, began turning their heavy turrets, their hydraulic whine cutting through the silence of the pre-dawn chill. And right here, this is where a calculated plan turns into pure, cold-blooded genius. At 3:40 a.m., Russian operators had a clean lock. 4 targets, 4 easy kills. But Ukrainian AI machine, watching through its thermal eyes, saw something the Russians couldn't. A flock of real, living geese crossing the sky. And in that instant, it decided to play God. The AI ordered a separation. 3 of the Bobers broke formation immediately, flying in chaotic, unpredictable patterns, their signatures shrinking to mimic birds. At the same moment, the 4th Bober aimed its powerful transmitter, not at the Russian radar, but at the geese. It tagged the flock, turning those birds into a massive, screaming phantom on the Russian screens. A phantom that looked, to everyone watching, like a wave of incoming cruise missiles. Imagine the Russian operator, 3 small echoes, or 1 massive, terrifying one. His training, his doctrine, and his own pounding heart told him the same thing: destroy the biggest threat first. And that was the wrong choice. Missiles streaked into the sky, locked onto the giant phantom the AI had created, and detonated. Not in metal, but in a cloud of feathers. For 12 precious seconds, the Russian crews were completely blind. Their systems tracked ghosts, their turrets aimed at empty air. And inside that tiny window, born from a brilliant lie, all 4 Bober motherships surged forward, closing the final distance. At 3:45 a.m., the storm broke. The 4 motherships released their payloads. 16 FPV drones detached, a swarm of vengeance diving into the heart of the refinery. The Pantsir crews snapped out of their stupor and opened fire in panic. The air turned into a steel web of cannon fire. The defense was brutal. 12 of the 16 FPVs were shredded in midair, their burning debris raining down onto nearby oil tanks, igniting secondary fires the Russians never intended. They destroyed most of the incoming swarm, but most wasn't enough. The lead Pantsir was suffocating, its best missiles wasted on birds, and as it kept firing blindly into the chaos, it opened one perfect opportunity for the survivors. At 3:47 a.m., with Russian guns spitting uselessly, the 4 remaining FPV drones had a clear path, but Ukraine had one more brutal surprise. Bober No. 4, the mothership that had carried those drones, didn't turn for home like the others. It pitched forward, dropped its nose, and became a weapon. It followed its own children down, executing a synchronized 5-machine strike. 4 FPV drones and their own motherships slammed into the facility. 4 direct hits on the distillation column, and the 5th tearing into the main control room. $1 billion of Russian pride and power was reduced to a glowing monument of failure. The drone's final transmission was ice cold. Drop confirmed. Target locked. 3, 2, 1. Impact. But the hell at Voil wasn't just an attack. It was a smokescreen. While Russian high command screamed into phones about Nizhny Novgorod, the remaining 6 Bober motherships were still out there in the dark, silent, hunting, closing in on targets all across Russia. The real storm was only beginning. At 4:15 a.m., hundreds of miles to the south, 3 of the remaining Bobers approached the plant at Sterlitamak. This wasn't just any plant. It was Russia's main producer of military-grade aviation kerosene, the lifeblood of its air force. From 15 miles out, 2 motherships released their payloads, 8 FPV killers racing toward the target. The third mothership, Bober No. 8, didn't release its drones. It climbed, circling high above the plant. Its mission was far more important than delivering explosives. The defenders below were already on high alert. At 4:25 a.m., a Krasuka 4 electronic warfare system roared to life, blanketing the entire area in a wall of GPS jamming. The 8 FPV drones went blind instantly. A single Pantsir on site opened fire, knocking 3 disoriented drones out of the sky. The attack was collapsing. For the Russians, it looked like a perfect defense. But Ukrainian AI had been waiting for this exact move. At 4:30 a.m., while the FPVs were being jammed to death, Bober No. 8 made its play. It pointed its nose down and began a steep, frantic dive, not toward the plant, but straight at the Pantsir system. To the Pantsir's radar, this wasn't a slow, plastic drone anymore. It was a large, fast-moving, high-priority target coming right for them. The operator had no choice. He spun the turret and fired 2 missiles at the incoming Bober. But it wasn't just a feint. It was a coordinated sacrifice. At that exact moment, Bober No. 9 also dove, presenting itself as another impossible-to-ignore target. The Pantsir, now facing 2 direct threats, fired its last ready missiles, 1 for each Bober. There was no miracle escape. At 4:36 a.m., Bober 8 and Bober 9 disappeared in 2 separate fireballs. A costly sacrifice, but a necessary one, because their final act bought 12 seconds. For those 12 seconds, the Pantsir was fully occupied, tracking, firing, confirming kills. Its turret was pointed skyward. The operator was blinded by his own success. And in that razor-thin window of vulnerability, the remaining FPV drones made their final run. They used the Krasuka's jamming signal as a homing beacon, flying the last half-mile on pure physics and memory. The Russian EW crew thought they had won. The Pantsir crew was celebrating their 2 kills. They never saw the 5 small, silent killers slipping through the chaos. 1 minute later, the price of the Bober sacrifice was paid in full. 2 FPV drones slammed directly into the main reactor house. A third obliterated the cooling pumps. The last 2, damaged by nearby missile blasts, veered off and crashed harmlessly. But the damage was already done. 2 motherships and all FPVs were lost, a high price. But in exchange, strategic assets worth $2 billion and the fuel supply for Russia's entire Southern Aviation Command vanished in a flash. The trade was more than worth it. The double sacrifice over Sterlitamak sent shockwaves through the Russian military. Panic spread. Commanders began ripping their most modern short-range air defense units off the front lines to guard critical infrastructure. One of those systems was the Tor M2, a tracked, all-terrain beast and Russia's premier drone killer. And one Tor M2 was waiting for the next Ukrainian attack. The sky over southern Russia had become a fortress of overlapping radar nets. Flying into it was suicide. At 5 a.m., 2 of the 3 remaining Bober motherships flew in tight formation toward Volgograd. Their target? The region's main electrical substation. At 10 miles out, they released all 8 of their FPV killers. Russia was ready. At 5:10 a.m., the Tor M2 operator, stationed just half a mile from the substation, got the lock he'd been waiting for. 8 targets. Slow, low. Exactly what the system was built for. Engaging 8 targets, he reported calmly. 2 9M331 missiles fired instantly. The first missile erased 2 FPVs in a single fireball. The second took down a third. The swarm was being dismantled with cold, machine-like precision. But Ukrainian AI knew the Tor well. It knew its greatest strength. That powerful tracking radar was also its greatest weakness. The 5 remaining FPVs executed their counterattack. 2 broke formation and climbed, broadcasting a blinding electronic signal straight into the Tor's radar antenna. The automated system, designed to prioritize the most aggressive threat, fell for it instantly. It tilted its radar upward, completely blind to everything happening below. While the Tor stared into the electronic glare, it did exactly what it was designed to do. It fired 2 more missiles, destroying the decoys. And in that moment, the last 3 FPVs became invisible to the system. They made their final run without a single shot fired at them. The tour operator realized his fatal mistake just as the system confirmed the decoy kills. He tried to reacquire targets, but the system's 4-second traverse time was an eternity he didn't have. At 5:15 a.m., the price was paid. 3 FPV drones slammed into the substation, 1 into the central switchgear, 2 into the high-voltage transmission lines. A massive blue arc ripped across the pre-dawn sky. Then, darkness. 16,000 Russian homes, and more importantly, a major military rail hub on the southern front, fell offline instantly. In Moscow, Putin was likely lighting a candle, remembering the good old days when his country had a working power grid. The 2 bombers that launched the attack didn't stay to watch. They banked hard and vanished into the darkness. Their mission was complete. But the night's work was not. At 5:30 a.m., the final Bober mothership, flying a lonely northern route, approached the town of Rylsk in the Kursk region. Its target, the main marshalling yard controlling all military traffic between Kursk and occupied Luhansk. Destroying it wouldn't just cause delays, it would sever a strategic artery. From 12 miles out, the last Bober released its final 4 FPV killers. The Tor M2 guarding the rail lines locked onto all 4 targets immediately. The Russian crew, veterans of the front line, didn't hesitate. 2 missiles fired. 2 FPVs vaporized. The Tor's radar began its slow 4-second rotation to reacquire the remaining 2 targets. But Ukrainian AI had one last trick. And this time, it wasn't about decoys or jamming. It was psychological warfare. As the radar spun, one of the surviving FPV drones broadcast a tiny, encrypted signal, not toward the radar, but directly onto the Tor's internal diagnostic frequency. The signal carried a single fake error code. Cascade failure. Missile launcher 3B. Inside the vehicle, the commander's console lit up with the warning. For the Russian crew, this was an "oh crap" moment. A launcher failure in the middle of combat is a catastrophic emergency. Following their training perfectly, they spent 3 crucial seconds staring down at their diagnostic panels, trying to confirm the error. And in those 3 seconds, they stopped looking at the sky. It was the oldest trick in the book. When the guards look down, the thief walks right past. By the time they realized the error was fake, it was already too late. The Tor finished its rotation, and the sky was empty. They had missed their chance. At 5:38 a.m., the 2 remaining FPV drones slipped through. One smashed into the main signal tower, turning a web of tracks and switches into a melted, useless knot. The second drone, having completed its mission, kept going, slamming into an ammo train waiting to depart for the front. The explosion was enormous. A secondary blast ripped through Rylsk, sending a shockwave felt all the way across the border in occupied Luhansk. The final domino had fallen. So let's rewind. Let's look at the moment that defined this entire 6-hour operation. 3:47 a.m., the FPV drone and its Bober mothership slamming into that distillation column. Why was that the fatal blow? Because the Russians got lazy. They were running night repairs, safety protocols off, security asleep at the wheel. That single precise strike didn't just destroy equipment, it ignited the heart of their war economy. And from that spark, a $5 billion firestorm erupted. Let's count the damage. 40% of Moscow's gasoline reserves, gone. The South's main source of aviation kerosene, vaporized. A critical logistics hub, blacked out. A major armored supply line, cut in half. And what did Ukraine spend? 3 motherships, 36 FPV drones. Under $1 million to inflict $5 billion in direct losses and create a strategic nightmare. But the real victory wasn't measured in dollars. The real victory was fear. Russia panicked. They pulled 8 of their strongest air defense systems, Pantsirs and Tors, off the front lines to guard smoking ruins. And every system they pulled back left a new, gaping hole for Ukrainian HIMARS rockets and Storm Shadow missiles to fly through. The final lesson is brutal. You can build a $500 million shield, but it's worthless if your enemy is smart enough to throw an $8,000 rock around it. Ukraine isn't just fighting harder, they're fighting smarter. This is the new face of war. And Russia is learning that lesson one burning refinery at a time. So here's the question I'll leave you with, and I want you to really think about this. If you were the Russian Minister of Defense, waking up to a $5 billion disaster, what exactly would you do next? How do you even begin to defend against a strategy built on deception, timing, and a $50 engine strapped to a plywood wing. How do you stop a weapon that doesn't break your defenses? It makes you break them yourself. Drop your best strategic ideas in the comments. I'll be reading through them, and we might even take the smartest ones and break them down in a future video. If you support Ukraine's ingenuity, give this video a like. And if you want more deep dive analysis on the tactics that are redefining modern warfare, make sure to subscribe. For now, stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.